All right, everyone, welcome to NRG 250 Class 3. This is an updated version of this presentation. So in this class, we're going to go over some basic elements of utility bills. I want to be really clear about this up front. There are many different styles of utility bills. The ones we go over in this lecture are just examples of one or two different types. There are literally dozens of them out there. So every utility has their own style of doing a bill. The key here is that you need to understand these common elements so in order to be able to analyze pretty much any bill. And once you get out into the field, you just need to be flexible, and as long as you have a really good foundational understanding of what's on a bill and what those quantities mean, you'll be in pretty good shape. All right, so for this one, when this is focused specifically on elements that we'll need for task 1, and to keep in mind that there are many other elements to especially commercial utility bills. But we will go over these because they will help you with task 1. And so as you can see, we have color coding here. We have red and blue, and all of these different things that you'll need to do for task 1. The red items are ones that you get directly from the bill. And then the blue items are ones you calculate based on, the red items, basically. So we're going to go over all of these here one by one. So we have the utility bill start and end date. We have number of days the billing cycle is calculated. We have a customer charge, kilowatt hours used, or energy use. BTUs we calculate. Demand is that's your power use, your total energy charges, and your total power charges, or total demand charges. Okay, so let's go over these one by one. Okay, so the easy one here, the start date and the end date of the utility bill. Generally speaking, this will be on every page of the bill. And so you can see here, it's very clear, it's from November 4th to December 7th. So in your spreadsheet, you'll just type that directly in. Make sure you type in the year because Excel will automatically calculate the days in the billing cycle from that. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Again, that's on pretty much every page of a utility bill, if not every page. Okay, the second one here, we have customer charge or flat rate charge. So the customer charge, it doesn't change month to month based on your energy use or your demand. So, I would say that it doesn't change every month, but sometimes it does change just based on a rate structure. The point is that it doesn't matter how much energy you use, how much demand you have. The customer charge is a flat charge. It doesn't change. To the point that even if you have zero energy use, you don't use anything at all, you're still going to get charged that customer charge. And you can see that can be fairly significant. So here we have a $278.04 customer charge. So it doesn't matter if you have 0 kilowatt hours and 0 kilowatts of demand, they'll still get charged that $278. And I'll give you an example of this to kind of give you an interesting application. So this is from an energy audit that we did. And you can see that our energy measure here, energy conservation measure, ECM. So it turned out that this building, and we found this out by performing the utility analysis. It turns out they have 2 gas meters, and one of them actually doesn't use any gas at all. So you go through 12 months of bills, and there's 0 CCFs of gas all year long. It turned, the reason they had that is because they had that there in case they wanted to rent a different space in the building out. It turned out they just weren't going to rent it out. And so what happened with that was they were actually paying over $600 a year for 0 gas use. This bill was totally just the customer charge and some taxes. And so that's a really, I think, a good example of why it can be extra important to do utility analysis, among a lot of other reasons. You can sometimes pick out really easy energy saving. And this is easy. They literally called up the utility, said, "Can you please turn off the gas meter, stop service to this meter?" It cost them $75, and then they're saving over $600 a year for 20 years, 25 years, or whatever. Okay, so the point here is that customer charge, that flat rate charge, it happens no matter if you use any energy or not. And so that's important to pick out, and you'll put that on your spreadsheet. Okay, so there's your customer charge. Then we have our kilowatt hours used. All right, so this is just for the electricity bill, obviously. So kilowatt hours There's usually a couple of ways to find it on a bill. On this one, we have for our distribution charge, you can see we have two different charges for kilowatt hours. So you add those up and you get 425,736 kilowatt hours. But do you see it somewhere else on the bill? So feel free to press pause and see if you find it somewhere else. And it turns out it's right down here. Okay, so it's actually listed in the supply section. So if you looked at the first lecture, remember you have your distribution and your supply, your transmission and distribution. So down here is basically your transmission, the generation. So this is basically your supplier cost. And you can see that the number is the same, 425,736. And actually, I just noticed it's in the third spot right down here. The point is that you can usually find this in multiple spots in the bill. Just be really careful to make sure you're including all of it. Because if you just included this on, this first on-peak number, then obviously you'd be wrong. Okay, so you can usually give yourself a little sanity check, and if you come up with this number, find it somewhere else on the bill, it's usually there. Okay, so that's our total energy use for the month. Again, you want to keep track of that. And again, energy use and demand, they're often on various parts of the bill, so you can usually check yourself. Okay, so that's our kilowatt hours used, pretty straightforward. And then we have demand. So remember, kilowatt hours used, that's our energy use. Demand is our power use. Okay, so that's our peak demand. Most of the time, the peak demand is based on, remember, the single highest 15 minutes of power use for the entire month. Okay, so let's take a look at a bill here. So here we have two demand charges. Sometimes you only have one, sometimes you'll have two. There's usually not a discrepancy, but I think it's important to note that sometimes you do. You can see you have 900 and 894 kilowatts. Okay, so that tells you during this month, so this is the month of November through December, so this is basically November. So in that, whatever 33 days or so, these numbers are the single highest 15 minutes of power use the entire month. So you could have dead flat, minimal, let's say in this building you have 400 kilowatts of use all the time. And then you have a single spike. Let's say it's one morning where it's, it's really cold and all of the thermostats and the heaters kick in, maybe you have some resistance heating in some of your, rooftop units or heat pumps. The lights get turned on all at once. People turn up the thermostat. Maybe someone turns on the hot water, so the electric water heater kicks on, whatever. So all month you're really flat, and then all of a sudden it spikes for just 15 minutes. That's what you're charged on for that whole month. Okay, so this is where demand management becomes really important, and it potentially can save you a lot of money if you manage your demand properly. So anyway, that's what these numbers are. So which one of these you use? I mean, frankly, it doesn't really matter. 900 or 894 are acceptable because they're actually getting billed for more than that anyway. And so let's talk about that quickly because I want to be really clear. You have this billed demand of 1068, but their actual demand is 900 kilowatts, right? So they're getting billed for more. Why is that? It's because of a demand ratchet. So I want you to be really careful about this. When you do your utility analysis, your demand or your actual demand is what you use. That's your peak demand. The billed demand is what you get charged for. Okay, and so if they have a ratchet, they can be different. Now, not every bill has a ratchet, and even when they do have a ratchet, it's not always different. So you got to be careful. Just make sure you're really clear which number or numbers you're putting in your spreadsheet when you do a utility analysis. Is it the actual demand or is it the billed demand? Because sometimes that can be different. Okay, so that's your demand. So for this one, remember, demand is implied that it's actual. If on your analysis it says billed demand, then you actually put it on your billed demand. And usually I would always recommend keeping track of both. It's better to have more data than not, it's better to have too much data than not enough. Okay, sorry, I had to fix something there. All right, so that's your demand, about 900 kilowatts. And remember, that's the highest 15-minute peak. All right, so let's look at the total energy charges. So this is the total cost of energy. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so the total cost of energy. Remember, energy, kilowatt hours are energy. Kilowatt are power or demand. So kilowatt hours are energy. So if you're looking for energy charges, you need to find kilowatt hour on this bill and see how much you're paying for it. So feel free to press pause and take a look and see if you can find the kilowatt hour charges or the energy charges. And you can see there's kilowatt here, and kilowatt hour here. Okay? And so what are the charges? Here are the charges. So all you do is add them up, and you get about $32,207.35. Not about, you get exactly that. Very, very important. When you enter this information on your spreadsheet, take note of this mentally. You want to enter in all three of those charges and have it, have a function or a formula in there. Do not just type in 32,207.35. And here's why. You're going to enter in a lot of data, and you're going to spend possibly hours on your spreadsheets. And if you get one little number wrong, and your energy cost 1 month is like $10,000 when really it should be $32,000, just because you messed up a decimal place or whatever. It's a lot harder to figure out what you did wrong if you don't keep your formula, okay? So make sure you type in all of the individual energy charges so you know where this number came from. Okay, that's very important. So that's your energy charge. Remember, it's kilowatt hour. Energy, kilowatt hour. Energy, kilowatt hour. And finally, we have our total demand charges or our power charges. So remember, kilowatt hour energy, kilowatt is demand. Okay? So just like energy charges, there's often going to be more than one demand charge here. In this case, there's only one. Okay? And it's $3,300.10. Sorry, $33.10.73. Okay? So again, I want to be really clear. This is just one type of bill. There are many different types of bill, dozens of types of bills out there. So don't go, telling all your friends that there's only one type of utility bill out there. There's actually a lot of them, and we'll try to look at some different examples in class. Also remember to keep your use formulas when you can. Keep track of all charges. Err on the side of keeping track of more information than less. And remember that just look very carefully and keep your kilowatt hour, which is energy, and kilowatt, which is power, keep those charges separate. Okay? And so that's what you grab from the utility bill for task 1. And all of these blue ones you will calculate using Excel. And we'll go over that in a little more detail in class.